where Dubai and UAE has come from, right? Where it is today and where it's headed in the future. 20 people start hitting you with all the same kind of information, right? This is where it starts getting overwhelming. I like to educate people, not just the good things Dubai has done, because obviously it's become a brand now. The 2008-2009 financial crisis that hit the whole world, the COVID happened. This one word gets spoken about enough, is leadership. Throughout all the downs that this country is, not in terms of what people say, right? Because anybody can talk a good game. In 2008-2009, right? How did they recover from that financial crash? Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, right, was one of the very first, right, in Dubai to actually roll up his sleeves and take the injection. In terms of, is this thing safe to take? We don't. Delivery driver, he removed a block of cement, the Crown Prince of Dubai. He loved that so much, that behavior, that actually out there giving confidence to the people that here that Dubai is doing fine. Hi everyone, my name is Bilal. I'm originally from the UK and I have been in Dubai real estate for 4 years. And today's video is about the typical buyer's journey, especially international buyers and investors, what kind of process they go through and how we can streamline it, right, to make it easier for them. And the second part of the video is mainly about how the leaders of this country kind of navigate through, the issues of the world. So I hope you enjoy. So let's get into it. So I believe the reason why people choose Dubai is it comes down to, let's start off with a bit of a storytelling, right? So let's imagine you're somebody in a different country, right? And you go to work, right? And then your friend who's just come back from Dubai, like many millions of people, right? When they go back to their own country, right? They want to tell their experience to their friends and family. Yes. So just imagine, somebody's come back to the office and you're in the office with them as well, and you're listening to their story, and they've just basically, you can just feel their energy, right? And how they're explaining that journey of, when they got on the Emirates flight, when they flew all the way there direct, when they landed, everybody's fighting over the window aisle seat so they can get the view of the skyline, right? I'm sure we've all done this, right? So this is again part of the storytelling that I don't think many people understand of where it starts, right? And it all starts in the conversation, either from a family or friend, or it starts from somebody at work. So let's say you heard the story at work, right? And then what happens is, where you're really engaged in that story because of the passion that individual is showing, because of what they just experienced in Dubai, right? Nothing but luxury, the lifestyle, how it kind of, amplified all their senses. And, this individual is just telling their story from the experience of what he's just had. So, and then the other person who's listening is kind of feeling that because of the passion he's showing in explaining all that, right? That individual leaves and goes home, right? And then, as we all know, our phones kind of have a habit of listening to our conversations. This individual opens their phone and they're looking at the screen, and all of a sudden, a Dubai skyline picture pops up on the screen. So this is where the spark begins in terms of the conversation was heard. Now they have a spark on the screen that, oh, okay, this actually is beautiful. I would just listen to it. Now I'm seeing it, right? And it does look beautiful. Let me investigate a little bit more, right? So when they're investigating, right, this is where the spark happens. This is where the interest is growing, right? So that spark then leads to, a little bit more investigation, and then they start looking into maybe planning a holiday themselves, right? So when they're planning a holiday, right, they're looking at locations, they're looking at hotel prices, looking at flight prices, they're looking at the geography in terms of where is all the best, where's the landmarks where I can go that I can get the same experience as my friend did in the office, right? So now obviously they're trying to make their own version of that story by doing their own research and planning and taking action, right? So then they go on the holiday, right? They go, to the airport, they catch the flight, they land in Dubai, and the moment they land, the energy is completely different to where they've come from, right? So, usually cold places where there's not much sunshine, and all of a sudden when you come out of the airport, all you got is a heat blast hits you, blue skies and sunshine right as soon as you get out. And then, where they're going to the hotel, they're talking to the taxi driver, and, when they arrive to the hotel, the check-in, everything, they're starting to get impressed because what they're going through at the moment in terms of they're measuring what the story I heard back in my country. Is it meeting the expectation? And most probably the answer is yes, because what happens next? So they have a great time. Maybe they go for a few days, right, or a week, as most people do, and they have the time of their life. They experience everything. They do everything they wanted to do. The list that a friend gave them, amongst other things that they found they want to visit themselves. So this is creating an experience, right? But that experience had an agenda, right? The agenda was basically to, see if, something else can happen from this, right? So I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, they're obviously time's over. They have to fly back to the country, right? And that's where, everything changes, right? So now, what happens is, they're looking at in terms of investing, right? Then maybe they want to buy for themselves, maybe they want to get some rental income or invest for other reasons, right? So now they're doing more research. Okay, now during this research, right, they start making inquiries, right? Maybe with direct with developers, or maybe with brokers in the market, right? Now, this is where it starts getting a little bit, messy for them in terms of they did not expect the kind of volume of people they will be dealing with when they make inquiries sitting abroad, right? So then now they're getting, they're speaking to many people, right? Probably you could argue maybe about 10 to 15 people is the average, right? And one client is obviously, discussing with 10 to 15 brokers. Now, that's a big number of people to deal with, first of all. Then the information that follows, right? This is where people start getting confused, and they at the start it looks like, oh right, that's a pretty brochure. Oh, this is a good, video that I've just seen, right? But then when 20 people start hitting you with all the same kind of information, right? And they're all different in their own ways, right? Different projects, different units, different developers, etc. This is where it starts getting overwhelming, right? Now, when it starts getting overwhelming, right? Something interesting happens. This is where life happens, I call it, right? Something, you get busy with your wife and kids, you get busy with work, and then Dubai gets shelved, which means it gets put on the back burner. So it's not on the front of your mind, it's in the back of your mind now, right? So this is what we see very commonly in terms of, they make the initial inquiry and then it goes cold because life happens, which is normal, I guess, right? But when they revisit the inquiry, right, is something that they kind of end up making the same mistakes, where they're dealing with, again, too many people, right? Again, going through the vicious cycle of getting the same information, right? But the way I like to do things with my clients is I like to take a different approach, right? I like to educate people, right? By educating people, not only what's going on currently, I'd like to educate people where Dubai and UAE has come from, right? Where it is today and where it's headed in the future, right? When I talk about the past, right, I talk about in terms of not just the good things Dubai has done, because obviously it's become a brand now. I talk about many other things when it comes to, for example, all the ups and highs and lows the country's been through, right? The 2008-2009 financial crisis that hit the whole world. How did it, how did it react from there, right? And then obviously 2014, there was another, again, drop in the market. How did they react from there? And then COVID happened, right? So that was absolutely humongous. Nobody expected it. And what I absolutely admire was, and I don't think this one word gets spoken about enough, is leadership, right? Throughout all the downs that this country's, or globally any country's been through, right? It's the leadership that needs to be looked at and studied, right? And what I mean by leadership is not in terms of what people say, right? Because anybody can talk a good game. It's what they do. What actions do they take? Let me give you a small example. So in 2008, 2009, right? How did they recover from that financial crash, right? It's by implementing good banking policies, making sure they can't make the same mistakes again by leveraging that, what they were lending to the people or businesses, right? They had to make sure there are certain criteria, certain processes in place, right? To make sure due diligence is done before we lend any money at all, right? Number one, so they learned from that. Number two, how did they overcome COVID? So Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, right, was one of the very first, right, in Dubai to actually roll up his sleeves and take the injection for COVID. That was a sign of strength from his side to show his people, right, and his nation that this is nothing to be worried about, right? If he's taking it, right, that means everybody else can take, because there was a bit of a fear in terms of, is this thing safe to take? We don't know what this is. We didn't know what COVID just happened just like this. Is this thing we're going to inject ourselves with safe? But when you see your own leaders take it, it kind of calms the nerves. People can breathe and think, okay, we're in good hands, right? And then what that also did was it showed how quickly you can overcome a really bad situation, an unprecedented situation, right? No, the world has never seen anything like this, right? So now it comes down to a point in time, like UAE was one of the first countries to come out of the COVID lockdowns, right? I believe it's 3 or 4 months. I remember in some countries, they were locked down for minimum 18 months, 2 years, probably even more than that in some countries, right? Because they kept getting it wrong, right? That was down to poor leadership from the top, right? So let's talk, I'll give you a few other examples. Sometimes, you know, they're not only in boardrooms, right? You know, in these high profile places, they're always on social media acknowledging the good that people do in this country as well. For example, there was a delivery driver. He removed a block of cement, right, from the road, right, and then moved it to the side, so to avoid accidents, right? Now, this came across the Sheikh Mohammed, Sheikh Fazar, the Crown Prince of Dubai. He loved that so much, that behavior, right, that he felt compelled to find this individual. He tracked him down and met him personally and thanked him, and it went viral on social media, right? So they're not hiding, you know, in bad times, you know, they're not hiding in bunkers or palaces or anything like this. They're actually out there giving confidence to the people that hear that Dubai is doing fine, right? And it always starts from the top, right? So, you know, they're in the malls, they're in the cafes, you know, and again, another thing I've admired for many years since I've been here is when it comes to Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, right? They actually sit on the ground with their people to break bread, right? To feel connected with the people in the holy month of Ramadan. You can go to any Western country, but you will not find that, right? So I really, really admire that. I really, really cherish that over here. I really kind of feel from that energy as well. So there is a spirit about the holy month of Ramadan when you're here. So I just think, you know, I always believe when it comes to, you know, politics or whether it comes to governance, it always is a top-down approach, right? If it's strong leadership at the bottom, you'll have strong people at the bottom, right? If it's weak at the top, it'll be weakness at the bottom. So what I'm trying to say is, if your people are happy, they're happy because the leadership is listening to them, right? And that's leadership. Thank you for staying with me till the end. I really appreciate that. I hope my information was informative and useful to you. If you'd like to work with me, you can contact me on the details over here, and I look forward to meeting and seeing you soon.